Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frank McClement. I'm the director of the Saratoga County Veteran Service Agency, and I'd like to welcome you all to our monthly Honor Deceased Veterans Ceremony. At this time, I'd ask you all to please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance, led by members of our Saratoga County American Legion, and remain standing for a prayer by our honorary chaplain and Korean War veteran, Paul O'Keefe. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. Gentlemen, please uncover. Our Supreme Commander in heaven, we thank you for making it possible for the Saratoga County Veterans Agency and the County Board of Supervisors to resume these precious deceased veterans ceremonies. This afternoon, we are honoring two veterans of the Korean War, wife and husband, Doris and Dr. John. Principal, yeah. It is a special honor for me, as I am also the New York State chaplain for every Korean War veteran in the Empire State of New York. To Doris and John's children, family, friends, I express our sincere condolences to you from the Korean War Veterans Association and everyone up here on the dais. May you keep the memory of your parents and family member alive through sharing the story of their bravery with all who will listen. We pray that our Supreme Commander in heaven may give you strength to cope with your daily challenges in their absence. May Doris and Dr. John continue to enjoy their reunion in heaven. God bless everyone in this room. Amen. Gentlemen, you may cover. Thank you, Frank.
Please be seated. Thank you, Chaplain O'Keefe. I do want to make a special note before we move on in our program. Chaplain O'Keefe was recently ill, and we weren't sure that he was going to make the ceremony this week. And he personally called me on the phone, and he said, I got clearance from the doctor, and I will be there on Tuesday to honor these Korean War veterans. So thank you for your service in the Korean War. And I want to thank also members of the Ladies Auxiliary for being here with the Korean War Veterans of America. We're very proud and honored that you were able to join us as well. I would just like to take a moment to give you a little history on our ceremony. We began this ceremony in August of 1999. The Saratoga County Board of Supervisors began a program to honor Saratoga County's veterans, those who are no longer with us, to bring their family and friends in and those that knew them throughout the community and remark and remember their service and their contributions to our county. This is the highest honor that we can give to a veteran in this county, and we are tremendously honored that you have allowed us to do this for your family, your mom and dad, and we appreciate it. A little bit about Dr. John and Doris. John was born on January 30th, 1928, to John and Elvira Principe. He graduated from Brooklyn College and was awarded his DDS degree in 1953 from NYU. Doris was born on September 15, 1934 to Wisconsin, to Carl and Lillian Bjork. John graduated, and the Korean War was at full force, and he decided to enter into the Air Force on July 23rd of 1953. And after completing his basic training at Gunter Air Force Base in Alabama, John was stationed at Hancock Air Base in Syracuse. It was there that he provided his services and expertise as a dentist for all of the airmen and soldiers and troops at the base. During his service, He received the National Defense Service Medal, and he achieved the rank of captain. He was discharged on September 20th, 1955. Doris also answered the call during the Korean War, and she entered into the United States Air Force on November 13th, 1952. And a no small task for ladies back then. And she certainly probably had a lot of gumption, I'm sure. I didn't know her personally, but I can only imagine. After completing her basic training at Fort Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming, she was stationed at Hancock Air Base in Syracuse. Do we see a little theme going here? Doris served as a communication specialist, a teletype operator. And there is a story that we have been told where Doris was very astute at her duties and paid close attention. We were certainly at the height of the beginnings of the Cold War. And she intercepted a call that led to a thorough investigation in which she received the commendation for intercepting a spy who was trying to gather information on the United States military. According to Doris, this later led to an opportunity to work for the CIA, which somehow she declined to marry Dr. John. So he must have been one heck of a guy as well, I would imagine. For her service, Doris was also awarded the National Defense Service Medal. She achieved the rank of Airman First Class, and she was discharged on October 5th, 1955. John and Doris met while in service at Hancock Air Base, and they were later married in September of 1955. They had 7 children. John went on to be one of the co-founders of Better Neighborhoods, Inc., and volunteered his skills as a dentist to those less fortunate. He also had a private practice for many years, and he started the dental department at CHP and the Carter Community Center. After military service, Doris spent most of her time caring for her family, her friends, and her neighbors. She was a stay-at-home wife and mother, and she also helped other families in her community by watching their children and caring for them. Her focus was to take care of the people around her, from making the neighborhood children's school lunches to making sure everyone around her had a safe place to lay their head at night. John passed away on January 15th, 2010, and Doris left us on July 22nd, 2019. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you all our supervisor from the town of Malta, Supervisor Mark Hammond, who has a few remarks and a presentation.
Thank you, Frank. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to first of all thank, can you hear me now? I'd like to thank everyone for showing up today, being part of this ceremony. I think it's fantastic. Being that my dad was also a Korean War vet, there was not only a special place in my heart today for that reason, but also because veterans in general, there's always been a special place in my heart. So I'm quite privileged to be here to kick off what was on hold for a couple of years due to the pandemic with these ceremonies. So the town of Malta being right up front, I'm very, very privileged. So again, thank you to the veterans, Saratoga County Veterans Association, their service association, I should say, or agency, and also Saratoga County in general for making this possible for all veterans to be acknowledged and doing the right thing. So it's always a special thing to see and witness. So as was pointed out, I do have a resolution. I won't read the entire resolution today, but the beginning, it's whereas the town of Malta and the county of Saratoga are honoring deceased veterans Doris and John Principe of the town of Malta at the Saratoga County Board of Supervisors meeting on the 17th day of March, although it's not, we'll call it the 17th. This was supposed to be 2020, but now it's 2022. Resolved that the town of Malta recognizes, honors, and thanks John and Doris Principe and expresses to their family and friends our great pride, and the town extends its gratitude for their patriotic defense of freedom and a service to our country on behalf of all Americans, and be it further resolved that we thank the Principe family for their service and dedication to the town of Malta. So again, thank you for your family service, and thank you all for being here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Hammond. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you our chairman of the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Theodore Kuzniers from the town of Moreau, who will read a county proclamation and also issue a couple other presentations on behalf of Saratoga County. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Frank, and thank you, Supervisor Hammond, for your kind remarks for the family and the service that they have, their family has provided on behalf of Saratoga County and the residents of the United States. And, you know, I couldn't help but think we're all watching intently with what's going on in Ukraine as they fight for their freedom. And it reminds all of us here in the U.S. that freedom isn't free, and that it's the veterans that came before us that ensure our freedom. And it's not just the veterans, it's the families of the veterans that support them while they're away, ensuring that our freedom is maintained. So as you heard Frank indicate, I do have a proclamation that I've authored on behalf of Saratoga County. And it's got some key points in it that I'd like to read into the record this afternoon. And it begins with, whereas the freedom, security, and prosperity that the American people have enjoyed throughout the history of our nation have been preserved due to the heroism and sacrifice of the men and women who have served in our armed forces. And whereas the Saratoga County Board of Supervisors wishes to honor and memorialize the lives and courageous deeds of members of the armed forces who have served with distinction in the defense of our nation. And whereas Dr. John F. Principe and Doris A. Principe were Saratoga County residents who proudly served our county and our country in the armed services of the United States. And whereas Dr. John Principe and Doris Principe of the town of Malta served in the United States Air Force, and John served from July 23rd, 1953 to September 20th, 1955, separating at the rank of captain, while Doris served from November 13th, 1952 through October 5th of 1955, separating at the rank of Airman First Class. And whereas Dr. John F. Principe completed his basic training at Gunter Air Force Base in Alabama, and Doris A. Principe completed her basic training at Fort Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming, and where John and Doris later met at Hancock Air Base in Syracuse, New York, where they both were stationed. John served as a dentist for the base, and Doris served as the communication specialist, working mostly teletype, switchboard, and tack lines. And whereas on Christmas Day, 1954, Doris received a call to base which led to an investigation and later apprehension of a spy by the authorities. Doris was subsequently offered employment by newly formed CIA because of her role in this incident, and Doris declined this offer due to her engagement to John, whom she married September 1955. And whereas for their service, both Dr. John F. Principe and Doris A. Principe were each awarded the National Defense Service Medal. And whereas after his honorable discharge from the Air Force, John maintained a dental practice in Schenectady, New York, and later established a dental department at CHP and Carter Community Center in Schenectady. John served as a member of the Schenectady City School Board during the 1960s and 1970s. And John was one of the co-founders of Better Neighborhoods Incorporated and volunteered his dental services to those less fortunate in the community. And whereas Doris was a devoted mother to their 7 children, enjoyed spending time with family and friends, and Doris frequently welcomed neighborhood children into their home and made sure that they had a place to sleep and a lunch to take to school the next day. Doris was a fantastic cook and loved feeding birds in the backyard. And whereas it is fitting that the military service of Dr. John and Doris Principe for their nation and community be recognized and remembered, and their memory be honored, now therefore be it proclaimed that the 19th day of April 2022 is hereby dedicated to the memory of Dr. John F. Principe and Doris A. Principe, and grateful recognition by the Saratoga County Board of Supervisors on behalf of all the citizens of the county for the service and sacrifice made by them for their country. A witness whereof I have affixed my hand and seal the Saratoga County Board of Supervisors this 19th day, April 2022. So if you'd come up, I'd like to present you with the proclamation. On behalf of the Saratoga County Board of Supervisors. We also have the Saratoga County Korean Veteran Medal for both Dr. John and Doris, which I have here as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to introduce our Saratoga County Clerk, Craig Hayner.
Thank you, Frank. It's certainly an honor to be here today to honor your parents. It's just an amazing day, and it's so nice to be back again after a few years of doing something that's very important, that we honor our veterans, and especially those who served so well, not only in the military, but afterwards as well. Always good to see Paul. I'm so glad that Paul is here today with us too. Really, our Korean War veterans. I know he doesn't like that attention, but Paul is a very, very dear friend that we've gotten to know over the years, and all of our Korean War veterans and their families are just near and dear to our hearts. And we're just grateful for your service. In 1830 to 1831, Alexis de Tocqueville, a French philosopher and politician, visited our country. And he was going to different Western societies just to see what was different between the Western societies. And when he came to America, he saw something a little different than he saw in other places, including France. And that was it. There was a genuine goodness. Now, I know our country is not perfect, but what they saw in the people, in a community, was a genuine goodness of people helping one another. And I think, that not only this ceremony, but the lives that they lived, your parents lived, really showed exactly what our country is made of and why it's exceptional. And so I've written a commemoration special for you that I'll hand over to you in a second. But again, we're just so grateful for the opportunity to honor your parents and for their service and what they did in the community as well, because those are no small tasks. And I know that they probably wouldn't want the attention for that either, but we're grateful that we do know about it so that we can honor them. So thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you, sir. And now I'd like to introduce to you all our Saratoga County District Attorney, Karen Hagan.
So some of these people know that I come over and speak because that's as big as I am. But now I've been tasked with making sure I have a microphone with me. So it's not that I can't project in a room, but we want to make sure everybody who's watching can also hear as well. So I'm very honored to be a part of this ceremony today to honor your parents. They clearly were a part of the fabric of our community, both in their service to our country and what they did afterwards. And that speaks so much about the greatness of the men and women that we have in Saratoga County, and particularly our veterans, that foundational base that they brought together, where they met together, I'm sure permeated your lives throughout the course of your childhood and beyond, and has been extended into your families and your friends as well. And that's part of what I'm so very honored to be a part of celebrating today as well. As someone who grew up in Malta and still lives in Malta, I'm especially honored that we are commemorating your parents and that we're recognizing both of them for their service to our country and our community. And so I too have written a small note for you to share with you at a time later. But on behalf of the men and women in my office who work each and every day with our law enforcement and making sure justice is obtained for all involved in our justice system, something that both of your parents served their time, their energy, and their efforts to ensure continued throughout the time when they were in service and onward more. I'm here to join in the chorus of saying thank you that we get to honor them today. And we wish you and your family well in celebrating their memories and all that they've given for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Kerry Warner could not be with us today, but she has sent a representative, Lydia Hoffman, who would like to make a presentation on behalf of the Assemblywoman.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, Kerry has COVID. She genuinely would want to be here. She loves this opportunity to celebrate the extraordinary, ordinary people that live among us. So I think she's really sorry not to be here to celebrate your parents. One thing that Frank said really triggered something for me. I would do a little research and putting together things for this ceremony. And I read an obituary that said your mother insisted she write her own obituary and publish it intact. And it reminded me of my 86-year-old mother who shows me a draft of her obituary virtually every time I visit her. So based on that, I'm sure she was an extraordinary woman. And I also have a citation. I am not going to read it, but there's one little piece that I think was interesting. And that's once their paths crossed in the Air Force, John and Doris decided to travel the same road, which they did for the next 55 years. And I think that's just so interesting how they came together and they, left their service behind, valuable to all of us to make sure we're safe, comfortable. And then they went about their lives and contributing in different ways. So congratulations on having great parents.
Thank you, Lydia. And now I'd like to introduce our New York State Senator, Jim Tedisco.
Thank you, Frank. Well, Principe family, I know that I and the family and Frank and all the supervisors and everybody here today were very much disappointed when we had to, because of circumstances, cancel that last commemoration. So I woke up yesterday morning and I was excited. I was thinking about Dr. John and Doris, and we're going to have this commemoration. We're finally going to do it. And I had a planned trip, and I took it out to the western part of my district, out to what is now Otsego County, Schoharie, Chenango County. And I'm out there traveling around, having some meetings. And as I'm getting in the car back and forth, I'm listening, 9 to 10 inches of snow out there. I'm saying this whole thing is star-crossed. It's not going to happen. And then I thought to myself, no, we're dealing with Frank and the Saratoga supervisors, the Board of Supervisors. And I said, they're like the Postal Service. Rain, sleet, is that what their slogan is? Rain, sleet, snow, no matter what happens, their duties are going to get done. And sure enough, we made sure that the snow didn't reach 9 to 10 inches here and that we were able to have this. Now, I want to make sure that there's one difference between the Board of Supervisors that you know about in the Postal Service. Their stamps never go up in cost, okay? They got some of the best and most reasonable taxes. They got the best of everything here. And they probably saw a little bit about my redistricting. I want to say one thing about it. You can take Tedisco out of Saratoga, but you'll never take Saratoga out of Tedisco, okay? And I'll always have a big heart for this place and a big heart for Dr. John and Doris and the Principe family. I want to let you know that I think it's difficult for all of us up here because their service being a part of what I like to say the best and the most courageous fighting force in the world, the men and women of our armed forces, it's kind of almost impossible to commemorate them and show how much we appreciate their service and everything they've done. And in a broader sense, because in expansion, they represent all of our veterans and our men and women who serve, past, present, and in the future. Men and women, Dr. John and Doris, who go put their lives on the line in many ways, collectively with all those individuals, then come back and put their lives on the line to serve us here in so many ways and build our community. And it's not only the service they provide here, New York State, United States, but in the world. All freedom-loving people, not only in this room, but around the world, have to be thankful for them and their part in this courageous group of people we call the United States military. They're willing to sacrifice a lot they hold dear so we could have everything we hold dear, and that is our freedom and our liberty. So I thank you for giving us the opportunity to stand up and try to do the best we can to show how much we appreciate them. It's not humanly possible. I don't think we can give you any honor or award that really reaches the level of what they were willing to do for us and the men and women by extension they represent. But there's one thing I can do as a New York State Senator. It's the highest award we can provide. And it's called the Liberty Medal. And I'd like to present the Liberty Medal posthumously through the family here for Dr. John and Doris right now to you. I'd like to have Mike Keneally come up. He's Air Force, and present this to you both on behalf of them. That is the citation. This is for Doris. These are the Liberty Medals. These are the highest awarded medals we can provide in New York State. I like to present this to you on behalf of Dr. John and thank him for the service. I'd like to present this to you for Doris and her service in the military as she came back to our community, and say thank you and God bless you and God bless the family. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Tedisco. And now I'd like to introduce Congressman Paul Tonko, who will make a special presentation.
Thank you, Frank. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Always a cherished opportunity to say thank you to our distinguished members of society, dubbed veterans. We thank your parents for both giving of themselves to service to this country. It's an honor to join with my colleagues in government, in particular with Chairman Todd and members of the Board of Supervisors. I thank you for the work you do and for hosting this recognition ceremony, which is so important for us to draw to mind the sacrifice, the service, and the undeniable patriotism that drove them to provide on behalf of all of us in service to our nation and the world. And certainly to all of our distinguished veterans, members of the committee that select the honored veterans, and to our auxiliary members, thank you for your service well beyond the battlefield. So thank you for that. So today, a special honor. You know, I've done a lot of these where we draw attention to a singular veteran, but today I think we can rightfully dub this the Principe love story. And when we've heard in the biographies that this one had been wrapped in romance and fate and service, and each with a goal to provide and share their love for country by entering into the United States Air Force. But it was that Hancock base in Syracuse that served as the stage for another type of love, and their love story was penned in that beginning spot. And Laura and Jan, it's an honor to pay tribute to your mom and dad. Can I share the story you shared with me? Okay, so he's an officer and his directions need to be heeded. So as Doris left a table when they were out celebrating, she came back to find a stranger, Dr. John, was seated in her chair. And she said, "You're seated in my chair." He said, "Well, have a seat." And she did. So she sat on his lap, and that was the beginning of a romance that led to marriage and a wonderful family as they continued to serve their country. So a powerful spiritual kind of connection that came for the two of them. And to know that they then went on And shortly after, as they concluded their service to country, then marriage came to be, and Dr. John was serving his colleagues in the Air Force as a dentist, and knowing that that was a great service provided, but then to go on and cherish those freedoms for which they served is an important bit of their life story, making certain that the marginalized, the forgotten, the left behind, the impoverished were front and center in their thinking. That says so much about them. This is a values-driven team that really cared about humanity, about community, about family. Greatest structure we have, that foundation upon which all of us are given an opportunity to grow. So let me acknowledge your parents as truly family-driven and making family for those who perhaps would not have had it, and making certain that important services were provided to the marginalized that enabled your dad to freely share his talents and your mom to freely express her love in community. That's a great story. So it is a romance that served us all well, and one that for which they are deeply, deeply cherished and recognized. So it's my honor and privilege to be with you today, to offer a humble thanks for their service, yes, to country, but more importantly, in a broader sense, for living a life that was just driven by humility and charity and recognition that we are all important. And they recognize the importance of each person that came across their path. Those are heroes. They're two people of great distinction. To honor them, recognize them, memorialize them, I ask that flags be flown over our nation's capital in tribute to their service and to their lives. And so my humble thanks to you on behalf of their great lives that they lived, and to offer a thank you on behalf of a grateful nation to both Dr. John and to Doris Principe. Great heroes, great heroes. So Laura and Jan, if you'll join me, I'll present the two flags. For their outstanding work. Yeah, with their thank you for that. Congratulations. Now, I will take one of the slides. Set up these two letters. Bring it out front. Raise on the county flagpole, where we'll probably fly for 30 days. In honor of your mom and dad. We'll be taken down again, folded into another triangle, and presented to you by your county supervisor.
So as Chaplain O'Keefe mentioned, we will fly both flags over the course of the next 30 days here at the county seat in honor of your parents. We'll take those down. We'll put them in a nice case. We'll return them to you through Supervisor Hammond's office. All levels of government have spoken here and made presentations, and they all interact. It's not just a dog and pony show. Everybody serves veterans here. If they didn't, they wouldn't be on this panel. This is the way Saratoga County operates. And here we're very, very honored and blessed because not every county does this, but our Board of Supervisors dedicates a committee solely to the health and well-being of veterans. It's our Veterans Committee. All the programs, all of the offerings and operations that my office holds is coordinated through that Veterans Committee. And this year, our chairman is Supervisor Tom Richardson from the city of Mechanicville, and he has two presentations he would like to make to you.
Before I begin, I'd just like to recognize a couple of other supervisors who are here. Phil Barrett from the town of Clifton Park, Eric Butler from the town of Corinth, and Mo Wright from the town of Hadley. So, gentlemen, thank you for being here. Does Warner Brothers owe you any kind of royalties for all those love story movies, war movies that they did over the years? That's the first question I have to. I don't know. You might want to check into that. I'm not sure. So let me just read this proclamation. This one's short. So the United States of America honors the memory of John and Doris Principe. This certificate is awarded by a grateful nation in recognition of devoted and selfless consecration to the service of our country and the armed forces of the United States. And this is signed by President Joe Biden. So let me give these are the rest. And then we also, the county just a few years ago, we put together a county coin in recognition of our veterans. So I have one for each of you. So.
Thank you, Supervisor Richardson. We have one final piece to the inside portion of our ceremony, a little bit of housekeeping before we move on. We and those involved in the ceremony just step forward at the conclusion of the inside portion. We're going to take opportunity to take some photographs, and then we will move outside in front of the building for a flag raising ceremony in honor of Doris and John. So one of my favorite pieces of the ceremony now, if you could all rise and join me, and we will sing Amazing Grace. And if you would like to join, the words are on the back of the program. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved the wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. Thank you very much. We appreciate you allowing us to honor your parents. Such a tremendous story. And thanks to all who attended, and thanks for everyone who helped to make this ceremony so special. Again, if we could just have everybody step forward, we'll clear the podium. We're going to take a couple of photographs. Then we're going to move outside for the flag raising portion of the ceremony. Thank you.
Our Heavenly
Mark, her. Ready. Hey. Fire. 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 Reset. Her. Detail.